Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Carrie Bernstein, Executive Director at Stand for Animals Veterinary Clinic. And we're here today to do our next episode of The Fix, which is our weekly broadcast, or our weekly webcast from the clinic here on 32nd Street that is intended to help you guys understand a little bit more about how we operate the clinics and some insight into our clients, and also an opportunity to provide you with some medical information, etc. So today, I'm sure you're probably wondering what is going on, because I don't look like my normal self. At least I hope I don't look like my normal self. And no, I'm not having a bad hair day. Today's broadcast is going to be about how to take care of your dog or cat in the summer. And we had a lot of questions last week when we did our interview with Dr. Welch. And there were many, many questions about taking care of your pet in the heat. So today, I'm prepared to discuss how to take care of your dog or cat in the heat. So as you can see, I've got my hat on, my sunglasses, I have my Tahiti drink or whatever this might be, and my sunscreen, and I'm ready for the warm weather to come. So we want to chat today about what you can do for your dog or cat to help them get ready for the upcoming warm weather. And don't forget that we have a chat box here on the webcast where you can send us in real time your questions, and we're happy to address them. And today we're going to do some remote broadcast with my sidekick, Austin, who's going to talk a little bit more about practical tips for dealing with the heat. And I also have the good fortune today to have one of our lead veterinary techs here in the office with me, Jen Tapp, who's also going to share some information. So this should be a really fun and informative session. So just as a little note, so when you come to the clinic, you will notice that we always have a sign in our window that says, please leave your dog in the car until you've checked in. And that sort of seems contrary to what we're about to preach about today, which is you should never leave your dog in the car or your cat in the car in the heat. So how is it that we can say both things? Well, this is why. The reason that we ask you to leave your dog or cat in the car, leave your dog in the car before you check in, is because having dogs in the lobby when we check in for one of our spay-neuter days can be really chaotic if you have your animal with you. And it's also really hard to juggle the paperwork that we ask you to fill out and your leash and all that going on. But you have to keep in mind that we check people in here at 7:30 in the morning. So even in the middle of summer, when it's really, really hot early in the day, it's not so hot that you aren't able to leave your dog in the car for about 5 minutes to do our admit process. So we're not hypocrites. We're not preaching one thing and then asking you to do another. We believe fully that you should never leave your dog in the car in the heat. But for the check-in process, it's quick, it's early in the morning, and we're not asking you to do anything that isn't safe for your pet. We would never, ever represent that to you. So we're going to go for a little quick remote out to Austin, who is going to share with you some tips about how to manage in the heat. And as you can see, Austin is also prepared for warm weather. I decided to skip the zinc on the nose option, as that might have been a little too reflective for what we're trying to do today. But Austin, are you ready?
I'm ready, Carrie. Can everyone hear me?
You can.
All right, so I'm out in the field, and it is a hot one today, and it's only going to get hotter. We know what it's like in the Carolinas, and we know what it's like when our dogs get hot as well. But a very dangerous place that we know is a no zone for dogs to be alone is parking lots, essentially. It's a huge blacktop. It just radiates heat, absorbs it, and gives it back out, and it's just not a safe place for dogs to be, especially in a parked car. And we just don't ever recommend leaving your dog unattended in a car, especially on a day like today. But other than that, in the car, we also want to make sure that when we're walking our dogs, because we want to give them, regular exercise, that's always a great idea, that they are keeping their paws safe, because down here, you can tell, just touching this, Carrie, it's scorching, and it's not even that sunny out today. So imagine what that feels like on your dog's bare, soft little baby feet. So that's something that we always want to keep in mind. And we just want to make sure they're staying hydrated too.
Great. Well, the other thing we wanted to talk about is the activities that you can do with your dog. And particularly, most people aren't taking their cats out in the morning for a walk or whatever, but when you're with your dog in the summer, what we'd say is use common sense. If it's too hot for you to be out, it's too hot for your dog to be out. If you're going to walk your dog, make sure you do it first thing in the morning or at the end of the day when the sun has gone down. And you got to pay close attention to how your dog is feeling and acting while you've got them outside. So you want to be cued in to how they're doing. So if you're sweating profusely and you're super hot, look at your dog and make sure your dog isn't panting and doesn't look like your dog is also overheating. And there are lots of little things you can do along the way to make sure that your dog stays cool. So if you're going to take him out for a walk, and we think you should still walk your dog in the summer, we just think you need to be smart about it, try to plan a route that's in the shade. So when we take our dogs out, we make sure that we walk a route that there are plenty of trees, and we keep them on the sidewalk or on the grass, and we stay covered as much as we possibly can, and we walk shorter distances and maybe walk them more than once a day so that they can still get out, but they're not out for such a long period of time. And then when we get them back to our house, one of the things that we like to do is turn our hose on and run the water over their feet, because if you cool their feet off, it immediately helps cool them off as well. We also take chicken broth and put it in ice cube trays and keep it in our freezer. And then when we come in for a walk and everybody's hot, we offer a chicken broth ice cube. Sounds delicious, doesn't it? For them to eat, which also can help keep them cool. And today, Jen Tapp is here with us, also in her sun attire, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about some of the things that you have to look at when you're out with your dog to be aware of whether they're overheating or not. Jen?
Hi, how's it going? Happy to be here and involved in this. Wanted to just go over some things about what to watch for. So as you know, dogs cool themselves by panting, and you want to make sure that you keep an eye out if it's excessive panting or for a long time. You want to find out how to cool them off. They can't sweat to cool down like us, so it can be problematic. You want to watch out for vomiting and diarrhea and lethargy. You want to make sure that your dog is responsive, and again, you want to make sure that after this long walk that they aren't lethargic or responsive. Sometimes if they do suffer a heat stroke, their gums may turn pale, their tongues may be bright red, but you want to be aware of what the warning signs are.
And if you notice that, what do you recommend what should somebody do?
Well, obviously prevention is the best, and the first step would be to get them out of the heat. Take them inside if possible, put them under a fan, in the AC, cold bathroom floor. Those tiles feel great. Offer water. Certainly don't force it on them. If you happen to have a hose in the backyard or a pool, a lake anywhere near you, you can always let them go in to swim to cool off, but make sure they do know they are familiar with that and able to go in there.
Don't want any bad side effects from all that.
You can also use some wet clothing or towels, put it under their armpits, their ears. Their paws are really receptive to cold liquids. If you start to see, this is again the common sense, if you start to see that they're in distress, you definitely want to contact a veterinarian. They may have you take a temperature or, give you a little bit of advice of whether you need to come in and rush in.
That's great. And the other thing we want to remind folks is if you have a doghouse outside, particularly if it's one of those ones that's made out of plastic, a lot of times there's this sort of idea that if you let your dog out and they can go into this doghouse, that it's a place where they can stay cool. That's just not true. Basically, if you send your dog outside to stay in the doghouse when it's really hot, essentially you're just putting them in an oven, because those doghouses hold the heat. So that is not a way to make sure that they stay cool when the temperatures get really, really high. I mean, obviously, sometimes you don't have a lot of options and you got to make the best of what you got. And we would say if that's the case, they need to have some shade, but a doghouse isn't a great option for keeping anyone cool. And as I think we mentioned last week, if you have a metal water bowl outside that you just happen to keep outside for your dog to drink out of, that's going to get really super hot, and it's not going to be cooling for their dog, for your dog at all. And we're going to list all these tips in the comment section below. So if we're talking too fast or you forget something, there's an easy way to remind you about it. And now we're going to go back to Austin, who's outside with our friend Syl, who has Alpha Dog, to talk to her a little bit about what's going on with her dogs who are out in the play yard behind our building.
All right. Thanks, Carrie. So yeah, we are out here with Syl and all of her wonderful dogs today. Say hi, Syl. Hi. So I'm just going to go over some things that we want to point out that are great practice when you are having your dog have playtime outside in the summer. So one thing we want to start off is having plenty of shady spaces that we can go to, and I'll just pan around and show everybody. So we've got some trees, obviously, and some great wooded areas in the back, but a good one that we have here is a covered little awning, a little shelter there that has open spaces. So things like doghouses, even though they're shady, they can still bake in the sun. So we definitely want to avoid things like that as well. But just to add to our little repertoire of all of our good stuff here, we also have a sprinkler going, and that's always great. And then plenty of fresh available water for them.
Great, Austin. Well, thanks for sharing that with us. I don't know if everybody got a little weird picture there, but Austin was basically showing the shelter back there. There's also a giant pool back there that the dogs can run in. You can always get a baby pool for your house and fill it up with a hose. And then if you take your dogs out, or if they want to go out and play, they've got a cool place to go to cool off. But that's just a little bit about what you can do in the heat. We hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure that you give us a thumbs up and share this with your friends. We'd like to have more and more people watching the webcast. And make sure you also subscribe. And if you have any questions that you want us to answer, be sure to put those in the chat box so that we can address that in future episodes. And thanks for tuning in, and stay cool. Bye.